Daniel here for Tabletop for One and my top 10 games I'd rather play together. And I thank you for joining me tonight. Now, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, I want to talk about solo games that have really great solo modes that I would rather play with a significant other. So I know this is a solo channel, but at times, even when I'm playing solo, there are times where I feel like, man, I really wish I had somebody special in my life to play this game with me and play a two-player game with me. And so, like I said, all these games are fantastic solo games, but I would definitely love to play it two-player instead. But I do want to say that half this list is like co-op games and half of them are cutthroat games. I don't know why it is, but I love to play co-op games two-player and I love to play cutthroat games two-player. And so we'll jump right in at number 10, and this game is a very cutthroat game, and that is Power Plants. Now, Power Plants is designed by Adam Dalton and published by Kids Table Board Games. And this game I backed on Kickstarter and I got the deluxe edition. It's fantastic production quality. I've done a tutorial solo playthrough for this video, probably almost a year ago, I think. But this game is fantastic. It's a fantastic solo game, but I've played it two-player once. And oh man, is it a great experience as you're trying to outwit your opponent, battle for the fields, put your sprites out on the board and contain the areas and score the most points. It can be cutthroat. Oh my goodness, it can be cutthroat as you put your opponent's plans to shame. But yeah, this is such a great game to play two-player. I'd much rather play two-player. Don't get me wrong, the solo mode is great, but I think the two-player is even better. All right, for number 9, we have another co-op game, and that is going to be Atlantis Rising. Now, Atlantis Rising is this game where you are Atlanteans and the gods are, angry with you. And so with their wrath comes floods and disasters and all sorts of things. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to build new technology and build a portal to get out of there and get to a new location. And so in this game, it's a cooperative worker placement game where you're placing workers out on the board. You're trying to cooperate with other people. Well, in the solo mode, you cooperate with yourself, but you're trying to gather enough resources to build the different components of the machine, ultimately we're trying to build the portal and win the game. But while you're doing that, the gods are flooding the tiles. You have these tiles in the 6 different areas on the map, and you'll flip over the tiles one at a time until they get close to the center. And of course, if you have to flood the center tile, you'll lose the game. And so it's a very tense game, and it's very challenging, and it requires teamwork as you play your leader meeples out there that help benefit other people. And so you have to time things right and that sort of thing. It's a great game. It's a fantastic game. I love this game as a solo game, but it's so much better with others. And two-player is a great addition. Two-player, there's some special rules for two-player, and I think it's great. And so yeah, this is one that I would rather play with a significant other than to play solo. All right, so we're moving on to number 8, and number 8 is another cutthroat game, and that is the Shores of Tripoli. And so the Shores of Tripoli is a war game. It's a two-player war game, which you can play solo, and the solo mode is really good for this one. It's surprising how well done it is, the way the priorities work, and how easy it is to run, and how challenging it is. I can't recommend this game enough as a solo game. The replayability as a solo game is kind of on the low side because you kind of get used to how the AI works, and so after multiple plays, you're going to get better than the AI for the most part. But it's a fantastic game of area control, moving across waters, trying to conquest different areas. It's really good. And so in the two-player mode, oh my goodness, is it cutthroat. As you're playing cards left and right and trying to thwart each other's plans. Yeah, it's such a fantastic game. It's a little on the expensive side. I think it's upwards of like $70 or something like that. But it's a great game. I love the Shores of Tripoli, and I really wish I could play two-player more often. All right, so next up for number 7, this game was one of my favorite small box games. I made it on my small box list, and I think maybe my hidden gems list, but this game is fantastic. It's a drafting game, and set collection game is called Canopy. Now, this can also be a cutthroat game, but this game is so good. It's designed by Tim Eisner, who did March of the Ants and Wonderland's War. But Canopy is this great set collection card drafting game. It is designed around being a two-player game. It has a fantastic solo mode, and it works really well as you play against an AI. And so, yeah, I recommend it as a solo game, but this is really a game I'd rather play two players. And it's just a fantastic experience. The art is great. It's Vincent Dutrait art. I love the art so much that I even bought the puzzle of this cover, and I've made that puzzle as well. It's just such a great game. All right, so next up at number 6, we have another war game, and this is one of GMT's lunchtime games, and this is called Red Flag Over Paris. Red Flag Over Paris came out 2022, I believe, like in the summertime, and it was a huge hit. Like, it was a P500 game, came out, got really great reviews. It looks fantastic. It has one of the best looking boards in the game. The graphic design is done real well. And now this is a card-driven war game where you have multi-use cards, and so you can use them for the action, the points, and that sort of thing, as you're vying for control over the board and trying to, earn the most victory points as you curry favor and win wars and that sort of thing. Red Flag Over Paris is a fantastic solo game. It works really well. It's easy to run. The solo mode is a little on the wordy side and less on the picture side, but once you get used to it, it's really easy to run. It's fantastic. Now, the two-player game, again, another cutthroat game, but it is so good. It's a tense two-player experience. It's very quick to play. Like I said, you're looking at 30, 45 minutes maybe. As you get used to it, you can even bring it down under 30 minutes. But yeah, this is a game I'd much rather play two-player, but I just don't have that option. All right, so at number 5, we're gonna have one of the best co-op games out there, and that is Cthulhu Death May Die. Now, Cthulhu Death May Die, if you haven't played this game, it's just like this action-adventure game as you are trying to battle cultists who are trying to summon an elder god. The elder god gets summoned out onto the board, and you're in this epic showdown with different stages of the boss. You're trying to level up your characters, but as your characters level up, the more insane they go. And so you have to balance your sanity and your stamina and all sorts of things. The level ups that you get make you so powerful. Yeah, this is such a great experience. Now, this game is actually best, I think, with 3 characters as far as balancing goes, but 2 players provides a solid, challenging experience, and it's such a great experience. And so, yeah, it's easy to learn, easy to play, but challenging in of itself, and such a great game, great production and everything like that. But yeah, this is one of those games where I'd much rather play 2-player with a significant other. All right, so we're moving on to number 4. And number 4 is one of the biggest games in my collection as far as size goes. It's also one of the best games in my collection. And it's just such a fantastic experience, solo, multiplayer, and that is The Dwellings of Eldervale. I don't know if you can see it. It's so big, it's so up close, but here we go, we'll try. The Dwellings of Eldervale is designed by Luke Laurie. Luke Laurie is one of my favorite designers. He's also just this great person. If you've encountered him on social media, he's just a very positive person, and he's just a breath of fresh air. But Luke Laurie designed this game. He also designed the Andromeda's Edge, which is a spiritual successor to this one. And so, yeah, this game can play up to 5 players, but I love the 2-player. It scales well at all the players. It really does because of the way you build out the map and stuff. But yeah, this game is such a great experience. There's so much going on in this game. There's tableau building, worker placement, there's battles, there's monsters, there's all sorts of things to do. It's just such a great experience, and it's best shared with another person. Even though it's competitive, I wouldn't say it's as a cutthroat a game as some of these other competitive games, but it's just an overall great experience. All right, so for number 3, now, you've heard me talk about this game multiple times. I'm sorry, but I'm going to get repetitious here with this game because it's just that good. This game is one of the most played games in my collection. Now, I know not everybody likes it because it's not the most complicated game, but it's such a great co-op game. And with multiple characters, multiple villains, Marvel United stands as one of my favorite solo games of all time, as well as one of my favorite co-op games of all time. Because Marvel United is just this great experience of card play and timing things, of managing crises around the board. If you have a lot of the villains, with the stretch goals or with some of the expansions, it adds to the replayability. All the villains are different challenges and that sort of thing. If you have the Sentinels one, that one's great. That one's so much fun and so challenging. There's just so much good going on with this game. You can play different characters and it's just a lot of fun. It's a fun game. It's a light game. Yes, it very much is, but that makes it easy to table, easy to play, easy to remember the rules. And yeah, I would love to play this 2-player over solo any day of the week. All right, so we're down to the last 2, and I think both of them are going to kind of surprise you. Maybe one of them, maybe the number one won't surprise you as much, but both of these games are some of the best solo games ever. I'm just serious. They are so well designed that they are the best solo games ever. And so at number 2, this one's going to surprise you that I'd rather play 2-player, but that goes with Imperium Classics. Now, Imperium Classics, if you don't know about this game, it's designed by David Turczi and Nigel Buckle. Now, I have been previously critical of this, mainly for the production quality. I didn't like the tokens and that sort of thing. It felt kind of cheap for what you pay for it. It felt like they should have done something better. But the design of this game is so well done. It's just amazing how well done this game is. With all the different factions, each box comes with 8 factions. Well, the 2 original games come with 8 factions each. There's a new one coming out, Imperium Horizons, and that comes with 14 factions, as well as some updated cards for the older editions. But it's so well done with the AIs, the way they're designed. They each have their own priority charts, so they each feel like a different opponent every time you play, and they each have their strengths and weaknesses, and it's just fantastic. It's such a great game. Now, a 2-player, it is very cutthroat. All right, so just be prepared for that. Going into it, it's a very cutthroat game, but it is so good. And it's so rewarding, especially if you know how to do well with the civilization that you play, and wins feel like you worked for it. All right, so my number 1 game that I'd rather play 2-player than solo, it may surprise you, because not only is it my number 1 solo game of all time, it is my number 1 multiplayer game of all time, and that is Spirit Island. Spirit Island is just such a great game. There's like nothing I would criticize about this game. I'm sorry, there just isn't. Spirit Island is just so well designed and it's so accessible, especially if you operate all the invaders and stuff for anybody who else is playing with you. So if you operate all the extra upkeep and that sort of thing, you can bring anybody into this game. And I'm serious, almost anybody who can read, because my 9-year-old has been playing since he was 7, and he doesn't need any help. He knows how to play the game himself. And so this game is highly accessible. They also have the Horizons edition, which make it easier to play. It's still the same game. It really is. It just doesn't have any adversaries or scenarios, but the way they made those spirits is they made them easier to target the enemies and that sort of thing. It made it much more accessible, so you can play with the Horizons, or you can go with the bigger box. This is the Jagged Earth expansion. I own most of Spirit Island. I haven't got the latest expansion, but I love every bit of it. It's such a fantastic game, and I would much rather play 2-player than solo. And that would go to surprising, because I played this game almost 100 times solo, and I've played it probably a couple dozen times multiplayer. I love this game. It's so good, and I'd rather play with somebody else. And so there you have it. That was my top 10 games that I'd rather play together. You have to let me know in the comments below what you thought of this list. Also, which solo games would you rather play with your significant other? And so for those of you, just like me, who don't have anyone this Valentine's Day, let me know what you're gonna play solo. Play a solo game and let me know. I think I'm gonna play Dwellings of Eldervale solo that day. And so please like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content you see here, and I thank my patrons for supporting me on this channel, and I thank you very much for joining me on Tabletop for One, and have a great night.